everybody, Jeremy Cordeaux, Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Welcome to The Garage and the Court of Public Opinion for a Wednesday. Don't forget to join us on Friday around the dining room table, jeremycordeaux.com. If you go to jeremycordeaux.com, I think they sort of call it the home of Jeremy Cordeaux, but in there's a whole lot of things. It's, of course, the previous online streaming radio shows that we do for 3 hours on a Friday morning, they are there. There's a bit of history, and there's a bit of stuff on the garage that Channel 7 recorded, came over here and did a nice story on their news, and we kept that and put that in on the web page. What else is there? There is, of course, the Facebook show, and they, I think, go right back. You've got to go to the bottom of the page to get all of those. But and I got to thank Andy Martin, because he's so good. Andy Martin was sacked by 5AA, I think, a little bit before I was. But fantastic talent. He's a one-off, Andy Martin. If ever you want to know anything about podcasting or the kind of magic he can do on a computer screen, he's a bit like you, Pete.
Sorry.
Computer stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'm a dinosaur. I just sort of.
So am I, truthfully.
I spend my time in awe of you guys. On a totally unrelated matter, Alinta, the power company. You know Alinta, the power company. It's running an ad campaign at the moment. It's quite a big campaign. They're spending a lot of money. We are moving to renewables, which I think means they're moving all their customers to renewables as well. We are moving to renewables. Coal and gas are finished. Now, don't quote me exactly, word for word, but that's the gist of the commercial, I promise you. Coal and gas are finished. Now, Alinta is a Chinese company, where, let me tell you, there are 3,092 coal-fired power stations. That's China is responsible for 95% of new coal-fired power station construction last year. 95%. That's 2023. They are currently constructing 2 new coal-fired power stations a week. And the Chinese-owned Alinta Power Company says in their advertising, coal is finished. Well, they are being conned, or we are being conned. I still don't get it. Does China have a different atmosphere to ours? One where it's okay to burn our coal, and we got our atmosphere where we can't do that and have the cheap power that obviously they're setting up all of these coal-fired power stations to take advantage of. They're not stupid, the Chinese. Somebody, though, thinks we're stupid. I think it's the crowd in Canberra, if you ask me. I had one of those, let's find you a cheaper electricity alternative provider calls. You know, they just cold call you. It's usually somebody who is a little hard to understand. Indian, perhaps, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Chinese. Perhaps Filipino? I'm not sure, but very, very hard to understand. Anyway, we would like to get you a cheaper electricity deal. Yes, I said. Whoa. Yes, I said, but hang on a second. You rang me 12 months ago and told me exactly the same thing. You're paying too much for your electricity. And you put me on to Alinta. Alinta, a Chinese company, which is now charging me almost $6,000 for what used to be, when I was with AGL, about $1,500. A better deal. Really? And you want to help me again? Oh, bless you. I said, listen, if you want to help me get rid of this federal government, along with their cheaper alternatives. Yeah, how would you get by in China if you had a government? Well, you see, the government wouldn't do it. They know right from wrong, up from down, crazy from sanity. They know. They wouldn't get very far, would they? Cheaper alternatives. It's not the electricity that's expensive. It's this government with its renewables policy. Can't you see it? I can see it. Supposedly cheaper, promised to be cheaper. We need to take advantage of our natural resources, coal and gas. We need coal and gas-fired, baseload, reliable, cheap power. That would make a huge difference to the cost of living in this country. The Chinese enjoy our cheap coal and we can't. They've got smart people running that country. They produce the most emissions and we produce the least. Their electricity is the cheapest, ours is the most expensive. Where is the logic? Think. I keep asking you. Think. Just get rid of this government and we fix this problem and many of the others that spring from this push for alternatives and this huge boost to the cost of living. A coin has been released to celebrate Countdown. There was one for, what's the cartoon character? Bluey? Bluey, yes. It's an interesting thing, releasing coins. Well, at the same time, they're telling us that cash is dead. Here's a new coin. It's all right. There's going to be a Countdown coin. A Countdown. It ran for, I think, 13 or 14 years, and for people of an age, it was must viewing. And Molly Meldrum had enormous power. He could make or break stars. There's a book out. Jane Gaza, I think her name is. I'm maybe not pronouncing it properly. Jane Gaza. It's called I Hear Music. Tells the whole story. I got a call into Jane, and I hope to have her on the show on Friday. Apparently, I believe Molly Meldrum is in a bad way. He never got over that fall, serious fall, which resulted in head injuries. I don't think I ever met him. I know I talked to him a couple of times over the years, but by all accounts, he's a very nice guy. I hope he's okay. Racism at the ABC? How ridiculous is that? The politically correct ABC? Racism? Are they pulling our leg?
Well, if there's racism, it's reverse racism.
Well, that could be, but I didn't think that. I'm not that Machiavellian. I didn't think of that. Racism. There used to be a time in the day of Sir Charles Moses and Sir Talbot Duck Manton, the two guys who ran the ABC in its glory days. They specialised in getting the best people. It was a meritocracy, pure and simple. But now, that doesn't matter. It's diversity. We have to have the most diverse people. And of course, if you're woke, you're in like Flynn. The ABC should be a meritocracy, the best. Most intelligent, most entertaining, most brilliant people. That's simple. Sex, colour, height, weight, doesn't matter. Politics definitely shouldn't matter. Or if it does in somebody's mind, it should be carefully balanced. Let's not let their love of diversity exclude conservatives, of which I cannot think they have one. Anyway, I don't run the ABC. Mind you, I'd love to do it. Just maybe for one day. A guest managing director.
I'd like to see that.
Oh, look, I'd love to do it. I'd do it for nothing as well. I'm still bitterly disappointed in Ita Buttrose, who I've always admired all my life. In fact, I loved her for, well, when I say loved her, at a distance. I really thought that she would straighten them out, but no. The government to address shrinkflation, which is interesting, good idea, but I can't really see what they can do. Unless it's, what do they call it, deceptive and misleading conduct. I don't know what the government can possibly do. And these big supermarkets, manufacturers and whatnot, they've got a phalanx of lawyers, or whatever the collective noun is, to tell them how to exactly word everything. Look, in all honesty, it's up to us. Let the buyer beware. If a manufacturer is pulling a Swiftie, just don't buy it. You know, they either put less of the product in the bag, or a smaller number of the product, or less weight, or something. In other words, they're shortchanging us. What I do is just boycott the item or the brand. Do it. That gets their attention. Ladies and gentlemen, I reckon we have to pull this country back from the brink. We had to book, you'd be aware of this, I guess, we had to book hundreds of seats to fly people out of Lebanon. 500 seats originally, that grew to 900 seats at, I assume, public expense.
Yes.
You reckon?
It is, yes.
Public expense. I got no idea what that would cost. 900 seats? But hang on. They're there to help 25,000 Australians get out of Lebanon. What are they doing there? Why are these people taking advantage of their Australian citizenship but choosing not to live here? I think it's called voting with your feet, isn't it? Being Australian means to me, in my book, love of country, the flag, the people, the food, the freedoms, the opportunities. What do you reckon, Pete?
Well, I said in a Facebook post, a piece of paper does not make you Australian. As you say, it's the heart, it's
yes.
love of the country, love of the flag.
Yes.
Obey our laws, our way of life, and they do not think that way.
Our rule of law. I put that on my list as well. Lebanon's civil war raged from 1975 to the mid-1990s. It's a long war. Thousands killed and wounded. Many flee the country, tens of thousands to Australia. The reason for the civil war, which wasn't very civil, was religion. The Druze, the Hanafis, the Christians, the Shia, the Sunnis. Mainly all different interpretations of Islam, except for the Christians, who I guess just had to keep their heads down. Tribal, historical hatred. The more I think about it, multiculturalism doesn't work. What do you think, Pete?
It absolutely doesn't work.
I think it's been proven. In some areas, at some times, with some people, it's worked brilliantly. But we pushed our luck.
I think the only time it has worked in places like Singapore, where Caucasians are the minority.
Yeah.
We don't try and change.
We're too polite. I don't think we would do it. We wouldn't do that.
No.
It's like coming into somebody's house and rearranging the furniture.
So that's the only place it works, but no. It's a failure.
Unless people agree to leave their baggage behind and get on with each other. So what do we have here? We've got 25,000 refugees who were mostly given refuge from the horrors of the Lebanese civil war. Why would so many of these new citizens choose to return to Lebanon as permanent residents with an Australian passport? Now, I don't know, but how many of these 25,000 or more found their way onto Australian social security, welfare? And if you leave, shouldn't those benefits cease? Just thinking. Up until a few days ago, just 27 seats of the 900 had been taken up. But now we've got some 3,000 who want to leave, who've put their name down. But why are we paying for this? What are these people doing in Lebanon? Clearly they like the joint and don't want to leave. Minister Wong, you remember, has been begging for ages, get out now, get out now. But anyway, what business is it of ours? When I look at the world and history, I see it is religion that is a big problem. A lot of trouble with Islam around the world, not exclusively, you understand. But here in Australia, we've been relatively lucky. But we can and should choose carefully who comes to live here. I don't know how you'd word it or what the legal implications would be, but I believe, don't know about you, Pete, but I believe this is a white, Christian, democratic country with the rule of law which respects women. We are tolerant, accepting, liberal and generous. But we're not fools. If this is not what you want, don't come. But don't try to impose on us what you want. There are lots of countries with lots of different cultures and customs into which you may fit in better. Haiti, Africa, the Middle East, parts of Asia, some frighteningly dangerous countries, mind you. You'll never convince me that we should expose our country and our people to any kind of risk. And don't get me wrong, it is our fault, or at least partly our fault, if people think they can come to Australia and be anything other than Australians. Surely we have the right to protect our culture as cultures all over the world protect themselves. It's as old as history, isn't it? When in Rome, do as the Romans. People and their culture have to be compatible, not alien, complementary, not combative. Assimilation should be the base requirement. And no, you can't kill your daughter because she falls in love with somebody outside your religion. How much time have I got, Pete?
A couple of minutes. Okay.
Maybe I should leave it there because I wanted to talk about the car industry. And I wanted to, or maybe just in simple preparation for next week. We might do it around the dining room table. If you got your mobile phone there and you go to Google, and you ask this question. Hey Google, what can you tell me about the Lima Declaration?
According to Parliament of Australia, in 1975, the Whitlam government signed the United Nations Lima Declaration, through which the Australian government sold out Australian industries and workers by specifically agreeing to transfer manufacturing to third world countries, supposedly to help them develop.
Do you believe that? I didn't make that up. That is the truth. Gough Whitlam sold out, their words, sold out Australian industry and workers by agreeing to transfer our manufacturing industry to third world countries.
And people still vote for Labor.
And people still, how could any worker vote for Labor? Please, if you don't believe me, Google it, look it up, research it. The Lima Declaration, right underneath our noses. The media didn't say a word about it. The Parliament wasn't consulted about it. And there are people who still idolise Gough Whitlam. It's beyond belief. Beyond belief and beyond a joke. More about that in the car industry next week. Before I give you some dates, just quickly, this is the fine last catalogue of Jim Elder's last auction. He has 4 of these a year, but this was a Bobby Dazzler. I think it was one of, if not the biggest catalogue. Important Australian paintings. It was on Sunday the 8th of September. Now, if you have an interesting painting and you want to know more about it, he is the man to tell you. He is more than happy to give you a free appraisal. He's looking for Australian and international works of art of note. And you may well have one on the wall and not even know it. Have a talk to Elder Fine Art Gallery, Helen and Jim. I'll just give you the number. It's 8267 2869. And his auctions are viewed, and he has purchases, people buying paintings all over the world. So you are really putting your painting in the best possible light to achieve the best possible price. Talk to Jim Elder. And if you're out of town or even out of the country, I don't know where you're watching this, but it's, what's the country code for Australia? 61?
Yes.
So it's 6108 8267 2869. He's a marvellous man. He really is. Jim Elder and the Rising Sun Inn, our sponsors here for the Court of Public Opinion from the garage. And of course from the dining room table, where I hope you'll join me on Friday, October 9. The Statute of Westminster, 1931, passed by the Australian Parliament. It formalises Australia's autonomy. We became a nation, but it wasn't 1942. Maybe this was passed, but it was not till 1947 that we passed the Citizenship and Nationalisation Act, which then made us totally independent of Britain. But it was a formidable time in the establishment of our great country. We're pretty young, you know, 1942, that's not so long ago. 1876, the first two-way telephone conversation, first over outdoor wires. That was in 1876 on this day. On this day in 1947, the first telephone conversation between occupants of a moving car and an aeroplane took place. I don't know why or what was said, but it was a moment in history. John Lennon, British rock singer, songwriter, Beatles, Strawberry Fields Forever, Help, Imagine. Born in Liverpool, 1940, his son Sean was born on the same day, but 1975 was the year. Hobart in Tasmania was founded in 1804. The first that's a good one. The first electric blanket was manufactured in 1946. And Pete, it would have been a very expensive purchase in those days, $36.50.
Well, in those days that would be a lot of...
For an electric blanket. And I reckon there'd be many people who would say, you mean I get in and lie on an electric mat? Well, you could understand people being a little nervous, a little cynical, a little careful. The first consumer to use home banking by computer, 1980. United American Bank in Knoxville, Tennessee. The first consumer to use home banking. And you know, 1980, I still don't use home banking. I don't trust any of it. Give me my checkbook any day. What else? Elvis and Priscilla Presley divorce after 6 years. The day was this. 1973 was the year. Jackson Browne, American rock singer, Running on Empty. Do you like Jackson Browne?
I love Jackson.
Jackson Browne was good. What was the other thing that you play that I like? Handsome Brown-Eyed Man, or... No, that's not. What is it?
Jackson Browne.
Jackson Browne.
I don't like there's so many. One of my favourites is Looking Into You.
Yeah.
None of these and nothing else can ever match the beauty that I've seen looking into you.
That's pretty words. Yeah, Jackson Browne, 1948. Oskar Schindler, the Austrian businessman and subject of the novel Schindler's Ark, and later the film Schindler's List, dies at 66 on this day in 1974. And the first transcontinental flight by a woman is completed. Laura Ingalls was her name, 1930. I'll give you one more. The great Morris West, Australian novelist. I spoke to him several times over the years. Morris West, he wrote Shoes of the Fisherman and many, many wonderful, wonderful books. He died at 83 on this day in 1999. Have yourself a wonderful what's left of the week, ladies and gentlemen, and I do hope you'll join us around the dining room table. Who have we got on Friday? Leon Vine is going to drop by. Professor Ian Plimer will be there. Les Ellicus will be there. I'm working on some interesting stuff. Most importantly, I hope you are going to be there to give us a ring and have your say about what you will in the court of public opinion. See you next Tuesday and Wednesday here in the garage and on Facebook and podcasting. Pete and I will be back then. Believe in yourself. Have a great what's left of the week. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Bye for now.